Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 106 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. At this moment, the 71 ancestors from the innate primordial life camp and the 7 lords from the cultivator side are engaged in a terrifying war within the boson world cluster. Yet, at this moment, the battle avatar of the Starlight Lord among the 7 lords has quietly reduced to 70% energy reserve. For each lord, due to the differences in their Tao, there is a limitation to the energy reserves they can manage. When one avatar takes up more, the other avatars can only take up less. In life and death struggles, the battle avatar can take up 99% of the energy, while all other avatars combined barely reach 1%. At this moment, the battle avatar of the Starlight Lord only occupies 70%, naturally causing his strength to decline. However, with his space-time expertise, in coordination with his companions, it's enough to delay rather than kill. Ha ha ha, the origin of this source world is mine. A massive world-level primordial life approaches a source world, its power quietly infiltrating the source world. An ownerless source world operates according to its rules. Even a godly king can't infiltrate it, naturally unable to stop the infiltration by a world-level primordial power. What is this? No. The creatures within this source world, though they can't see the colossal entity outside the source world, feel the world-level primordial power spreading like dark clouds, instantly shrouding the entire source world. Enshrouded by dark clouds, destruction descends. Boom! In an instant, all creatures, all lands and rivers, all spacetime were annihilated. Complete destruction. This terrifying power also permeates into the origin of the source world, starting to absorb the origin. The origin of this source world is too vast. This world-level primordial life only feels the origin vast like the sea. Though it is a big fish, it still requires a long time to devour an entire sea. To absorb the entire origin of this source world, it's estimated to take 120 eras. Based on its absorption speed, with the experience of other world-level primordials in the camp, it made a rough estimate. Destroying all beings in the source world is just a thought. But to absorb the origin takes 120 eras. Not to mention even an ancestor personally absorbing a source world would also take quite some time to fully absorb. Buzz. A phantom descends, rapidly coalescing into a black-robed young man, one of the avatars of the Starlight Lord. Not good. The world-level primordial life, in the midst of absorbing the source world origin, was instantly stunned upon seeing this black-robed young man. Fear. Despair. This black-robed young man is the most feared lord among the entire innate primordial life camp, Starlight. Stalked by him, there is no escape. This is the most feared lord among the innate primordial lives. The black-robed young man glanced and knew that the creatures of that source world were annihilated. He wasted no words, with a thought, caused the space-time to shatter like a mirror. The world-level primordial body shattered with it, along with its life core, instantly killing it. With a wave of his hand, he collected this body. At this moment, numerous thoughts from Starlight Lord Remote descended into each space-time. Each thought could rapidly absorb power from multiple spacetimes to form a strong avatar, swiftly annihilating one world-level primordial life after another. Filled with fury, he couldn't be bothered to waste time capturing, it was all about killing swiftly. Lords can descend a thought across endless distance. But it's just a thought, with very weak power. Even if they absorb some primordial force, they can only slaughter some high-level primordial lives. To easily kill a world-level primordial perfection life, a lord's avatar also needs approximately 1/10,000th of the energy reserve. A remotely descended thought, merely absorbing primordial force, to reach 1/10,000th of the energy reserve, even for Golden Lord, Lord Nigu, and others, it will take about 1 Earth day. Too slow. Starlight Lord is an exception. He had set up a spacetime net in the 3600 world cluster of the cultivator territory. With the spacetime net, cultivators could easily teleport to various places. Starlight Lord can also utilize the spacetime net to swiftly absorb surrounding spacetime power. Although the boson world cluster was attacked and the spacetime net was destroyed in the first instance, Starlight Lord can still absorb energy not only from the present spacetime but also from past multiple spacetimes. In many past timelines, there existed a complete spacetime net spread throughout the 3600 world cluster. Absorbing power from multiple spacetimes, nearby regions could be instantly absorbed, enabling an avatar to quickly reach beyond 1/10,000th energy reserve. Of course, to go further, it requires absorbing from farther distances, increasing the absorption difficulty rapidly. By leveraging the spacetime net, absorbing nearby multiple spacetime powers can instantly exceed 1/10,000th energy reserve, elevating Starlight Lord's ability to garrison territories to the top among the 7 lords. Although garrisoning the territory is limited to the 3600 world cluster range, and only affects below ancestor level, even Yuan acknowledges Starlight's contribution is the highest among the lords. Before the birth of Starlight Lord, there were only 5 lords. The cultivator territory had only expanded to 800 world clusters, yet even so, warfare often engulfed the 800 world clusters. Bus. 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 In the Boson world cluster, numerous regions saw black-robed young men descending. When encountering high-level primordial lives, he just waved his hand and captured them all. Because for an avatar with 1/10,000th energy reserve, slaughtering and capturing take the same time. When encountering world-level primordials, killing is prioritized. Capturing them takes more time. The 71 ancestors at this moment also received the news, naturally infuriated. How dare he, while engaging with us, to even split forces to deal with the little ones? This Starlight Lord has divided part of his power. His effective strength will significantly drop. Everyone, give your all, crush them. Facing the 7 lords of the cultivators, they were very vigilant, fearing being counterkilled by 1 or 2. After all, in this war, even combined, they had already lost 3 ancestors in counterkills. Now, the cultivator's Starlight Lord dared to divide power? From the most threatening lord, lowered to a normal lord level. Naturally, they felt much relieved, gaining the confidence to attack full force. Kill. Completely destroy them. The 71 ancestors' attacks became even more terrifying. However, the 7 lords of the cultivators were solely focused on defense. The vast formation arranged by Yuan perfectly coordinated the power of the 7 lords, enabling them together to withstand these ancestors' siege. Just in a moment, I have already slain over 3,500 world-level primordials, countless high-level primordials. Starlight Lord informed his companions, the mid and low tier of the innate primordial life camp have started panicking, their attack speed is beginning to slow down. Who wouldn't be anxious in the face of Starlight Lord's slaughter? Fear, retreat, merely dispatching weak avatars? Originally, the conquest of a world cluster could be completed in 1 or 2,000 eras, but under the threat of Starlight Lord, the time cost would be upwards of 100-fold. The key is that we have to hold out. Even with the coordination of formations from the 7 lords, the pressure was still immense. After all, in terms of individual strength, Starlight Lord was the strongest. His diminished power significantly impacted the 7 working as one. What we need to do is hold him back. At this moment, Wu Lan's body was incredibly large, almost as big as a source world, shielding the other lords from the storm. As a master of the primordial material Dao, his defensive abilities were the strongest among the 7 lords. The pressure brought by 71 ancestors was mostly borne by Wu Lan. Of course, each lord had their specialties, and only by joining forces could they pose such a threat to the ancestors. The change in warfare strategy slowed the offensive of the lower levels in the innate primordial life camp, but the offensives of the ancestors became even more ferocious. The land of origin. During Luo Feng's cultivation, he suddenly sensed the formation of the cave mansion being triggered. Some creature had adept entered his cave mansion. Who could break into the cave mansion without my permission? Luo Feng immediately sent an avatar out of the quiet room and at a glance saw a middle-aged man in the distance. The man looked quite ordinary, but had a mark on his brow. I am Starlight, the middle-aged man smiled as he said. Luo Feng greets the Starlight Lord. Luo Feng was quite astonished and immediately bowed. Starlight Lord stood there without any aura. If it weren't for the cave mansion formation alerting him to a cultivator's presence, Luo Feng wouldn't have sensed him at all. He seemed transcendent, beyond the entire space and time. To comprehend over 1,000 types of world-level primordial bloodline is indeed rare. Starlight Lord smiled slightly. With such comprehension, I suspect you are also preparing to attempt to break laws with force. Yes, I am indeed planning on breaking laws with force. Luo Feng nodded in acknowledgement. Senior Starlight also used this technique. Can you give me some guidance? Looking at Luo Feng, Starlight Lord said with a smile, breaking laws with force cannot be taught. I can only say that walking this path requires enough patience. He had endured a very long time in the past. Luo Feng nodded. You intend to break laws with force, it will likely take a long time. Starlight Lord smiled slightly. I shall give you a hand by greatly accelerating the flow of time in your cave mansion's quiet room. Thank you, Senior Starlight. Luo Feng was overjoyed. Starlight Lord nodded, and the space-time of the entire cave mansion began to twist. The space-time rules of this area were altered, drawing energy from the entire land of origin to perpetually maintain the time-space state here. In just a moment, the changes in rules succeeded, ensuring long-term maintenance. The time flow in your cave mansion's quiet room has been adjusted to 1 billion times, Starlight Lord said, and it cannot be increased or decreased. It is in a fixed state. Adjusting the time flow rate is relatively more complex. After all, adjusting from 1 to 1 million times is relatively easy. But 1 billion times? A constant state actually makes spacetime more stable. I understand, Luo Feng said with considerable gratitude. His greatest worry was that during the warfare, the source world of the land of origin would be breached. Now, with the time flow increased to 1 billion times, he had more time on his hands. Work hard, Starlight Lord smiled and then departed. Inside the cave mansion's quiet room, Luo Feng noticed the difference in the flow of time and couldn't help but smile. The time that passes here compares to the outside world as one breath against an eternity. Continue comprehending the world-level primordial bloodline. Luo Feng disregarded the turbulent outside world. He knew he couldn't help at present and continued according to his original cultivation plan, meticulously studying each piece of material. Study the materials first, understand the bloodline later, and compare them to each other. Continuous, one piece after another. Unintentionally, he had studied the world-level primordial bloodline thoroughly. 2,729 compatible types of world-level primordial bloodline, yet I have not comprehended them all, only 2010 types, Luo Feng thought. These 2729 are divided into life category, destruction category, and life and death combined category. Among them, life category accounted for about 87% of his comprehension. Life and death combined accounted for about 95%. Destruction category was where he had only comprehended a little over half. My life and death Tao is primarily based on life. This direction has a deeper accumulation. My accumulation in the destruction category is somewhat lacking, Luo Feng thought. Of course, it was only somewhat lacking. Among 995 destruction categories, Luo Feng could comprehend 503 types of world-level primordial bloodline. It should be noted that before breaking out of the braided cage, only he, Starlight, and Nijiu had comprehended over 100 types of world-level primordial bloodline. This clearly showed Luo Feng's profound accumulation in destruction as well. After all, throughout his cultivation path, he had explored all 3 types of bloodline equally. No matter how much Luo Feng comprehended world-level primordial bloodline or ancestor-level materials, his gains were minimal, and he faintly understood that it would be difficult to make significant gains in these bloodlines and materials. I can begin the next step. Attempt to create the primordial life and death Tao. Luo Feng's eyes burned with determination. He had amassed strength over long ages, waiting for this very moment. Inside the quiet room of the cave mansion, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, first taking a Dan pill, then eating a fruit, and finally picking up the jug beside him and gulping down a few drinks. His soul was faintly glowing, and he felt better than ever. For the first attempt at creating a primordial level Tao, my state must be good. Luo Feng was rarely this extravagant, as a single Dan pill and fruit were worth 80,000 reward points. not including the cost of the wine. Let's begin creating. Luo Feng already had a prototype of the primordial life and death Tao in his mind, and now he needed to construct what he envisioned piece by piece. The eye of life and death on Luo Feng's forehead opened, and under his will, numerous secret patterns were sketched in the void before him. These secret patterns naturally fused life and destruction, everything seeming as though naturally formed. 1 day, 2 days, 100 days, 1,000 days, 10,000 days. Luo Feng meticulously constructed the secret pattern map. At my current speed of construction, I estimate it will take around 10 eras to succeed. Luo Feng concluded. The primordial level Tao is vast, on the same level as the ancestor level secret pattern map. The number of secret patterns is astronomical, sketched piece by piece, ceaselessly. Successfully sketching them would take approximately 10 eras. It sounded great, but when actually constructing it piece by piece, many issues arose. Luo Feng occasionally paused to ponder issues and resolve them. It's like building a highly intricate machine spanning billions of kilometers. Problems at the start aren't noticeable until the construction is halfway through, when unresolvable issues surface. Creating a Tao is much the same. Many hidden issues cannot be solved in the later stages, leaving them to be patched up and loosely integrated. When the enormous secret pattern map was finally constructed, 18 eras had elapsed. It's finally done. Luo Feng looked excitedly at the vast and floating secret pattern map before him. Although very fatigued, he had ultimately constructed a complete secret pattern map. This map was grand and profound, entirely on par with the ancestor-level secret pattern map. The first version of the primordial life and death Tao, constructed over 18 eras, is finally formed. Luo Feng gazed at the secret pattern map before him. Regrettably, there are too many flaws. I can see numerous issues at a glance. Nevertheless, at least the large framework was constructed. This is a framework on the same level as the ancestor secret pattern map. I've also learned many lessons from it. Luo Feng was still quite satisfied. He believed the second creation would certainly be much stronger. Let's test what forming an avatar based on this secret pattern map would be like. Luo Feng thought. Simply observing the secret pattern map, some flaws remain undetected. But forming an avatar from it reveals numerous issues within the avatar. The energy in the cave mansion's quiet room was endless for the cultivators within the braided cage. With a mere thought, Luo Feng rapidly began to condense a body from tremendous energy that surged to an energy reserve 150 billion times beyond Luo Feng's original body. So colossal, most of the body couldn't be well controlled and had to transform into a blood sea, managed through a formation. While some parts maintained a humanoid form with a layer of cyan scales on the body, standing there exuding an indestructible aura. Feeling this avatar, Luo Feng was of mixed feelings. The first version of the primordial life and death Tao has too many flaws, making it impossible to perfectly control the body. Most of the energy reserve could only transform into a blood sea. However, the condensed human form was rather robust, and the cyan scales partially resembled those of the Star Tower blood scale. Luo Feng felt the avatar. Within the braided cage, half primordial life and death Tao can strengthen no matter how much, still within the braided cage. The many mysteries added to it could provide more abilities but may also be flaws. Many half-primordial enlightened tried adding mysteries, only to be superfluous. Power not only didn't increase, but also decreased. Although Luo Feng only created the first version, this avatar was still far stronger than the original physical body. The overall control of this body slightly decreased. But the perfectly controlled part also exceeded an energy reserve of 50 billion times, greatly enhancing the overall energy reserve. The human form's combat power massively increased. Much stronger than the half-primordial life and death Tao. There are too many flaws, even the mind-consciousness system has issues. Luo Feng discerned more problems with the first version of the primordial life and death Tao secret pattern map based on the avatar's form. Completely tear down and start anew. Begin the second attempt to create the primordial life and death Tao. Having the experience from the first creation, Luo Feng was more meticulous the second time. He had to be extremely careful at the start of constructing the secret patterns because all subsequent patterns were built on these foundations. This time required slightly less time, consuming 15 eras to create the second version of the primordial life and death Tao. Far stronger than last time. Luo Feng looked at this vast secret pattern map before him. The fusion of life and destruction within the patterns had a glistening flow, even allowing Luo Feng to vaguely sense a kind of supreme power. Boom! This power subtly tempted Luo Feng's mind, drawing him in. I feel the highest level of power, but I'm still somewhat short. Luo Feng muttered, my secret pattern map is very close to the highest level power. Luo Feng was delighted. This time's secret pattern map was still vast, so much that Luo Feng couldn't spot any obvious flaws. The vast secret pattern map seemed unified. The ancestor-level secret pattern map seemed like the origin. Luo Feng's current secret pattern map also seemed like the origin. I can't find any flaws from the surface. Luo Feng thought, even though I vaguely feel the allure of a very high-level power, clearly, this second version of the primordial life and death Tao hasn't achieved a qualitative transformation, hasn't become a primordial level Tao. Luo Feng was very aware of this. Because the cultivator camp's intelligence had already been made public, according to the experiences of the previous 7 lords, once comprehending a primordial level Tao, the life level could directly leap to the lord level. But now, he still hadn't leapt out of the braided cage. It proved the second version was still a failure. Even though very close to success, it was still a failure. Looking at the secret pattern map, flaws remain unseen, so let's construct an avatar first to see. Luo Feng attempted to construct an avatar once again. Absorbing the energy of the cave mansion's quiet room, a humanoid clone rapidly begins to form. During the formation process, blood-red scales appear on the surface of this clone, resembling the Star Tower blood scale to about 80 or 90%. As the construction progresses, the aura of this clone becomes terrifying. Boom tilde tilde tilde. This clone naturally begins to form an invisible rule domain. The terrifying rule domain can suppress the previous physical body of Luo Feng. This clone can have 19.1 billion times the energy reserve, more than before, yet perfectly controls every portion of strength. The mind consciousness system also completely controls every part of the clone, and the strength of spiritual will has greatly increased. With this clone, the spiritual will should have already reached the world-level primordial level. Luo Feng was astonished. This second version is excellent. Energy reserve is terrifying, spiritual will is robust. My current mind thought operating speed is several times faster than when my original body consumed numerous treasures. Luo Feng looked at the blood-colored scale armor on his body surface, which can be described as indestructible. A thought. The scale armor naturally extends, merging into a knife. Luo Feng holds the knife. My body can transform into weapons. Luo Feng gently swings the knife in his hand, and the knife easily tears through space. I haven't escaped the braided cage yet, but this clone should be able to match high-level primordial life. Luo Feng made the judgment. The second version of the primordial life and death Tao is very close to success. Though I haven't escaped the braided cage, the physical body's size and power are enough to rival true high-level primordial life. Where are the billions of origins I plan to form within my body? Luo Feng noticed this point, finding no origin forming within his body. I discovered the problem. In pursuit of no defects, I weakened the power of life and destruction. I need to enhance these two aspects. Luo Feng retained the second version of the clone this time because this clone only needs to consume some treasures, greatly enhancing the speed of thought operation, comprehension, and other aspects. The third version is evidently more intricate, incorporating more mysteries of life and destruction. More perfect. When the secret pattern map was successfully constructed, Luo Feng felt a resonance with a certain supreme level power, and this power seemed already within reach. The secret pattern map is vast and intricate, on par with the ancestor level secret pattern map. Closer to the supreme power, Luo Feng thought, but there's still something missing. What's missing? Attempting to construct a clone. The energy of the cave mansion's quiet room was mobilized to start constructing the third version of the clone. In just a moment, an enormous and towering Luophone figure appeared inside the quiet room of the cave mansion. Over 30 billion times the energy reserve was required to construct this clone. Luophone felt the formidable nature of this clone, with 3 origins within the body, and each of the 3 hidden origins can accumulate 100 billion times energy. My mind thought operating speed is 10 times stronger than the second version clone. My spiritual will should count as normal world level primordial level. My physical body is indestructible. Luophone felt like he was a terrifying weapon, with even muscles and bones exhibiting some blood-colored scale characteristics. Still a slight difference, just a little more to perfection. If my entire physical structure resembles the blood-colored scale, my physical body would be considered immortal. The physical body would be the most terrifying weapon. Luophone sensed that a little further, and that would be the complete primordial life and death Tao. By that time, I would be the 8th Lord, and every part of the body would rival the Star Tower blood scale, indestructible. The whole body would be like the most terrifying weapon, annihilating everything. Still need to enhance the destruction feature, then the body would seem like a weapon, the presence would be more terrifying. No. Luophone suddenly had a revelation. Wrong. I've taken the wrong path. Luophone realized the problem. As an enlightened one, he had no bloodline or pollution, nor memory pollution. Therefore, he could clearly recognize his issues. In the second version, I pursued no defect, making the life and death fusion more perfect. Starting then, I was going off track. Continuously pursuing no defect, striving for life and destruction balance. Life and destruction balance, so my body currently only has 3 origins, instead of the billions of origins planned. At the same time, my destruction direction feature is intensifying, even the physical muscles and bones are transforming towards blood-colored scales. But in reality, it seems like I'm within reach of becoming a lord. Yet following the wrong path, I will never reach it, Luophone realized, because my foundation half-primordial life and death Tao fundamentally prioritizes life. The foundation is life as the priority, it's impossible to yield the fruit of life and destruction balance. The so-called within reach, it's just an illusion. My Tao is not the path of life and destruction balance. It is the extreme path, first pursuing the extreme of life. Beside a dark lake in the land of origin, the figures of 7 lords sat on the ground, exchanging some information. 13 ancestors led by the inference fire ancestor suddenly erupted, restraining Wulan and injuring Jin, Minghuang, and Momen. Lord Naijiu said, "Fortunately, Yuan's formation stabilized the situation, otherwise the 7 of us would have had to flee for our lives just now. Starlight, without your threat, these ancestors have become even more reckless. It was indeed very dangerous just now." Wulan nodded. Though his own body was strong, the various highest-level powers controlled by the ancestors were also very troublesome. Just now, the inference fire ancestor erupted. Inference Fire Ancestor, one of the top-ranking ancestors in the innate primordial life camp, renowned and powerful, with a seat in the land of eternity, an undying and indestructible existence. It is the absolute main battle faction of the innate primordial life camp. Just now, it actually swallowed the immense main battle avatar of Lord Wulan in an instant, though it only restrained for a moment. Lord Wulan tore through the Inference Fire Ancestor's body and burst out, but it showed a flaw in the previous cooperation. The Inference Fire Ancestor was torn apart, but endless flames gathered and instantly restored. At that time, the other 12 erupting ancestors, plus dozens of other ancestors, Jin, Minghuang, and Momen, the 3 lords were instantly severely injured. If not for the help of the other lords, their main battle avatars might have been annihilated. Lord on lord, no one fears. But facing a siege, even the main battle avatar might be blown up. The delay strategy carries some costs. Starlight said, "I must allocate some power to assault the innate primordial life camp's army to terrify the world-level primordials, greatly slowing their conquest of the source world. As for dealing with those ancestor levels, according to my observations of the future, as long as we listen to Yuan, we can still hold on. Hold on once or twice, can we last 10 times or 100 times? I know the future is uncertain." Lord Naijiu shook his head lightly, We can't blindly trust in observing the future. You're right. Starlight nodded. Nigu. Golden Lord frowned and scolded, your life force is stronger than many ancestors. We're not afraid. What are you afraid of? I'm not afraid, I'm worried the delay strategy will fail. After all, once the 7 of us lords collapse, those ancestors can attack the Pavilion's Unworld group recklessly, and the Pavilion's Unworld group might fall faster. Lord Nigu said, Starlight, increase your main battle avatar power to 90%, the remaining 10% to assault those world-level primordials. They are now frightened by your killings, daring to attack the source world recklessly should be much less. Your 10% power should be enough to deter them. I agree with Nigu. Lord Moman nodded. Starlight smiled, my main battle avatar has already recovered to 90%. Nigu was stunned. Jin, Minghuang, Moman, Yuan, and Wulan were all a bit surprised. It seemed so dangerous just now, and you hid your strength. Wulan asked. It only appeared dangerous. Starlight smiled, I was waiting for an opportunity, a chance to hurt them. Calculated back and forth, don't let the 7 of us fall in the end. Lord Nigu said. 70+ ancestors working together, the pressure on the lords was also great. Trust Starlight. Yuan said. Starlight, when do you predict Luofeng will break through? Lord Minghuang asked, and the other 5 lords also looked at Starlight. Luofeng, by comprehending those primordial bloodlines, has already touched upon the mysteries of the highest level powers. Starlight smiled, he is now trying to create the primordial level Dao, and in just several tens of eras, his second creation of Dao has already reached the near Dao level. Near Dao? Reached near Dao so quickly? When I became master of the source world, it took me 300 billion eras to near Dao. Jin said, feeling the attraction of the highest level destructive power. It then took another 5,000 eras to truly grasp the primordial destruction path. Once near Dao, enlightenment is very certain. This Luofeng being introduced here, his actual cultivation time is only 1.5 billion eras, and he's already near Dao. It's estimated it'll take a few more dozen billion eras, or at most hundreds of billion eras, to attain Dao. These 7 lords were quite expectant. According to the cultivator camp's experience, once one can sense the attraction of the highest level powers, it means they are very close. Next, it is about grinding skillfully, gradually accumulating and perfecting, until finally mastering it one day. Since it is within reach, with their talent, spending some time is sure to reach it. His current cave mansion is under a speed time acceleration of over 1 billion times. Thus, it is estimated that in just about 100 eras, a new lord will be born. Starlight smiled gently, by then, the situation will change. Everyone present nodded. Cooperation between 8 lords, compared to 7, would increase overall strength by at least 20 or 30%. He cultivates the primordial life and death Dao, which will greatly benefit our entire cultivator camp. Yuan smiled, and the other 6 lords were also quite expectant. In the infinite primordial space, there are quite a few who hold the highest level of power. Besides the innate primordial life camp and the cultivator camp, there are also other camps. The lords had seen certain existences proficient in life direction, always longing to have such a companion. Luofeng was such a companion. Inside a quiet room of an ordinary cave mansion in the land of origin. I have finally succeeded. Jianlanqi refined the world-level primordial bloodline, as his degree of comprehension had reached 70%, the moment it was refined into his body, it triggered the entire life's evolution. Countless frost-white hairs emerged on his body's surface, turning him into a colossal creature. The original cave mansion of Jianlanqi was a high-level primordial life cave mansion. The quiet room had a relatively small space-time, and the gigantic beast instantly filled the entire quiet room's space-time range. Jianlanqi was slightly displeased but still reverted to human form. So what if you're a fusion Dao cultivator? I will become a world-level primordial first. Jianlanqi smiled. The appearance of Luofeng brought considerable pressure on Jianlanqi. After all, for a fusion Dao cultivator, Becoming a world-level primordial is very easy. Once Luofeng becomes a world-level primordial first, then the Dark World Group might directly fall under Luofeng's command. The Dark World Group is considered a hometown group of worlds. If a group of worlds has two world-level primordials, naturally, the one who breaks through first becomes the leader, which is an unspoken rule. Qian Lanku still hopes to command his hometown world group. So when Luofeng first arrived at the land of origin, Qian Lanku exchanged for a supporting treasure, pushing forward energetically, and finally succeeded today. The Dark World Group will ultimately be under my command. Qian Lanku was in a great mood. If Luofeng was faster, Qian Lanku would still be stuck at the high-level primordial life stage and would have to be under Luofeng's command, obliged to pay respects obediently. Now, it's no longer necessary. Being a world-level primordial is indeed different. Qian Lanku walked out of the quiet room of the cave mansion, waiting for the Lord's summons. He waited for quite a while. What's going on? Qian Lanku was a bit puzzled. I've become a world-level primordial, so why hasn't the Lord summoned me? In the rules of the cultivator camp, the birth of a world-level primordial is considered a big event. The Lord of the respective territory would personally summon them, arrange a position, and assign a world group to lead. But Qian Lanku broke through, yet he wasn't summoned. Now it's wartime, the lords might be engaged in life-and-death battles with the ancestors, temporarily having no time for me. Qian Lanku speculated, smiling slightly, I'll first visit some world-level primordials. Having become a world-level primordial, naturally, one associates with others of the same level. He wasn't worried about lacking the necessary resources, as long as he indeed became a world-level primordial before Luofeng, the Dark World Group would surely be under his command. This little fellow Qian Lanku also became a world-level primordial. Yuan had already known. The cultivator territory is now divided into 7 dominions, and Yuan commands one of these dominions, with the Dark World Group within its range. Naturally, Yuan will arrange for Qian Lanku as a world-level primordial. No rush yet. Once Luofeng becomes a lord, the dominions need to be redivided. And the Dark World Group will become his absolute territory. Yuan thought. This is also a rule set by the lords. The lord's homeland world group is the lord's absolute territory, and how to manage it, other lords have no right to interfere. Whereas many other world groups are managed according to the entire cultivator camp's rules, which are jointly decided by the 7 lords. With the birth of a lord, territories need to be redivided. Only the hometown world group is not divided. In the eyes of the 7 lords, the Dark World Group is already regarded as Luofeng's absolute territory. On Primordial Island, at the peak of the mountain, in Luofeng's cave mansion quiet room. To date, attempts to create the primordial life and death Tao have been made 38,291,022 times. Among them, over 93% have felt the allure of the highest level of power. It feels within reach, yet unattainable. Since attempting to create the primordial life and death Tao, 1 billion era times have passed. During this long age, Luofeng has been tormented with pain. After all, each time he feels very close, each time he fails, it is naturally excruciating. Luofeng has tried various directions. Starting from the half-primordial life and death path as a basis, or from the origin system as the core, or the spiritual consciousness system as the core. Luofeng tried all sorts of creation methods over these long years. Up till today, Luofeng no longer knows how to try anymore. I've exhausted all possibilities. Luofeng sat there dazedly. Behind him stood 15 Luofeng avatars. These 15 avatars had slightly different appearances, but each aura was extremely terrifying. Each had touched the threshold of the world-level primordial life form. These 15 avatars were the most perfect of Luofeng's 30 million attempts. For these 15 avatars, Luofeng found no flaws. I admit, I can't find any flaws in these 15 avatars. Luofeng nodded gently. Let's move on to the next step. Luofeng had heard about how long Elder Starlight spent breaking laws with force, so he was already prepared for endless, long years. His cultivation plan also divided into many steps. The first step is to comprehend all primordial bloodlines and materials, the second step is to create the Tao, and the third step is practice. Single-mindedly seeking enlightenment, I can no longer find flaws. The next step is practice. The first phase of practice is to test survival ability. Luo Feng thought, my primordial life and death Tao focuses on life, pursuing an extremely large body, and pursuing extremely strong survival capability. So let's see how the survival capabilities of these 15 avatars are. In this quiet room of Luo Feng's cave mansion, the space-time scope is vast, and a grand array appears inside the quiet room. All 15 avatars flew into this formation. These 15 avatars, each in a 1/10 extreme state, in comparison with each other, it's quite fair. If these avatars were all to maintain the most extreme state, it would put a heavy burden on the soul, and Luo Feng could not maintain 15 extreme avatars simultaneously. Reducing each to only a 1/10 extreme state made the soul much more relaxed. Begin imitating the attacks of innate primordial life. Luo Feng spoke, gradually increased the strength from high-level primordial life, attacking these 15 avatars with the same intensity. Cultivator Luo Feng, the attack strength will start from the early stage of high-level primordial life level. A gentle voice sounded. Then, deep blue flames appeared out of thin air within this vast formation, burning each avatar. With the capabilities of the land of origin, it can easily maintain power at the world-level primordial perfection level. As the power continues to climb, the land of origin can still manage it. But that would require a huge amount of reward points. The 15 Luo Feng avatars, each sitting cross-legged, felt relaxed as the deep blue flames burned them. Later, the deep blue flames suddenly turned into deep blue frost, extremely cold, permeating each avatar. While the space vibrated slightly, countless spatial blades enveloped the avatars. Various attacks descended, and these 15 avatars remained unscathed. The power increased to the mid-stage level of high-level primordial life. The gentle voice sounded. The power increased to the late-stage level of high-level primordial life. The power level gradually increased. Some damage began to appear on parts of the avatar surfaces, but slight damage was instantly repaired under their immense life force. The power level increased to the early stage of the world-level primordial. A wave of fluctuations covered the 15 avatars within the entire formation, resulting in a qualitative transformation of power from high-level primordial perfection to the early stage of world-level primordial. The previously more relaxed 15 avatars were severely injured. Hua tilde. The most severely affected avatar, with silver-white scales on its surface, had all these silver-white scales shattered under an invisible fluctuation. The covered layers of skin, flesh, and fascia quickly disintegrated and vanished, leaving only the black gold-colored bones resisting. This avatar had only a framework left, and the skeletal force still protected hundreds of origins within. As the might gradually increased, the skeleton started to crack, and the origins began to disintegrate. Only a few moments passed. The skeleton completely turned to powder, all the origins vanished, and only 14 avatars remained inside the formation. Avatar number 2 is the first to disintegrate. Luo Feng was very pleased to see this scene. Its mind-consciousness system root was wrong. Although it wasn't apparent before, under this attack and by comparing the state of the 15 avatars, Luo Feng immediately realized the significant root error of the second avatar. In pursuit of an extremely large physical body, I reduced the strength of the mind-consciousness commander. But the result was that while the body grew larger, the protective ability of the flesh and bones weakened. The mind-consciousness system pursues perfect control over each portion of power consciousness. As the body grows larger, the demand on the mind-consciousness system increases. Luo Feng's second avatar's thought process was to slightly reduce the demands. Lowering the degree of mind-consciousness control allows for a more rough control over a significantly larger body. But the result is, against attacks of the same level, the larger, but rougher controlled, body was the first to collapse. Boom! Aside from the terrifying fluctuations within the formation, frost aura began to appear, intending to freeze each of Luo Feng's avatars, while the terrifying fluctuations tried to vibrate and tear apart every bit of body strength. The remaining avatar's injuries quickly became severe. Avatar number 9 is not going to hold on. Luo Feng carefully assessed. Avatar number 9 was entirely covered with deep green scale armor, incredibly tough, and in the face of the terrifying ice and frost, the armor only showed slight cracks. However, the muscles and bones inside this avatar had already begun to disintegrate and vanish. Though the surface scale armor was strong, the inside was weak, and the origins began to vanish as well. For this 9th avatar, I used the dual parallel creation concept. I really liked the immortal effect of the Star Tower blood scale. So for this avatar, I simultaneously used the origin system and blood scale system as 2 core elements, yet the result was weakened survival ability. It was the second to disintegrate among the 15 avatars. As time passed, under the increasing power of the world-level primordial early stage, with the power strengthening, one avatar after another disintegrated. Of the 15 avatars, 3 were created with the dual parallel concept, and all of them have now disintegrated. This shows that the dual parallel route is wrong. Wanting both results in neither being strong enough. The power slowly increased, and one avatar after another fell apart. The power has risen to the mid-phase of world-level primordial, the gentle voice echoed again. At this moment, the power within the formation was terrifyingly extreme. Ordinary high-level primordial life forms would turn to dust upon entering. Even newly ascended world-level primordial beings, whose dharma weren't yet perfected, wouldn't last long inside the formation. At this moment, Luo Feng still had 3 avatars resisting. The earlier 12 avatars had all collapsed during the primordial early stage of the world level, allowing Luo Feng to identify each of their flaws and gain great insights. Boom! The space within the formation was already distorted, with strands of black flames burning everywhere, and toxic mist covering the skin, muscles, and bones of Luo Feng's 3 avatars, making the situation extremely dire for each. Among these 3 avatars, one was the 7th avatar, the smallest of the 15 avatars. Despite its small size, its entire body was like a weapon, still persisting. Another was the 12th avatar, the largest of the 15, whose whole body resisted the attacks under the control of the mind-consciousness system. The last one was the 11th avatar, slightly smaller than the 12th. This meant that out of the 15 avatars, the 2 largest and the smallest held out the longest. This 11th avatar? Luo Feng was shocked. I pursued a larger physical body and adopted the same approach as the 2nd avatar, reducing the control of the mind-consciousness system. The 2nd avatar was the first to be eliminated, but the 11th one has persisted until now. Boom! The physical bodies of the 3 avatars completely collapsed almost simultaneously. During the collapse, the first 2 avatars disintegrated entirely, leaving nothing behind. Only the 11th avatar had 10,000 origins still suspended despite its physical body being obliterated. Under this terrifying assault, these 10,000 origins intertwined like a star array, collectively resisting external attacks. These origins had a stronger resistance to external assaults than the previous flesh and bones. This 11th avatar, its origin has a stronger survival capability than the physical body. Luo Feng stared at the 10,000 origins in shock and delight. This was an extraordinary scenario. Life forms like the innate primordial beings always had physical bodies far stronger than their life cores. Once the physical body couldn't withstand, the life core too would easily be breached. Yet his 11th avatar's physical body disintegrated, while the 10,000 origins still endured. The power continued to ascend, with various thunders striking down. The thunder struck down wrathfully, causing the 10,000 origins to begin disintegrating, but the others still resisted. Each origin's survival ability was formidable, stubbornly supporting for over 100 breaths of time, but as their numbers dwindled, the disintegration accelerated, eventually leading to complete obliteration. Ha ha ha. Outside the formation, Luo Feng was ecstatic. I understand. The 11th avatar adopted a reduced mind-consciousness system control, an enormous mistake. It weakened the physical body's defense. Yet it had a tremendous advantage. It was created using the origin core creation method, producing the most perfect version. In creating the primordial life and death Tao, I always thought starting with the half-primordial life and death path as the seed, constructing step by step, like building a house starting with the foundation, was the correct approach. Yet with the 11th avatar, I constructed the origin system first, then built other systems around it, entirely ignoring the half-primordial life and death path. Ha ha, this is correct. This suits me best. Luo Feng fully understood. For the ultimate primordial life and death Tao, there's only one core, the origin core. Everything revolves around it, constructing the Tao. As for the half-primordial life and death path, all my insights and mysteries stem from it. It's inherently a seed that, within my mind, has already blossomed into letting me comprehend the 6 major systems. The 6 major systems all originate from the half-primordial life and death path. When building the Tao, there's no need to rigidly start with it. Starting with it might even be restrictive. The Tao has a core. Origin is the core, everything else revolves around it. Begin. Having absorbed the experiences of the 15 avatars, with successful achievements and lessons from failures, Luo Feng was confident he could create a more perfect version of the primordial life and death Tao. Luo Feng first constructed the 3 longest-lasting avatars, using their advantages to significantly enhance spiritual thought processing speed and comprehension. Then, starting to create the Tao. A secret pattern was etched in the void. This time, Luo Feng started by constructing the origin system. Coming up tomorrow, Lord Luo is about to be born. Luo Feng's origin system is still different from the ancestor's life core. The ancestor's life core is born inherently. With evolution, the life core advances step by step. The life core encompasses the mysteries of many Taos, endless energy, and even the soul. Therefore, once the life core shatters, the ancestors must perish. The lords, clearly without fatal weaknesses, naturally Luo Feng would not create a fatal flaw for himself. After comprehending the mysteries of the origin, he created the origin system most suited for himself. Luo Feng's origin does not encompass the soul. It merely accumulates endless energy. It does not have the capability to evolve, nor does it contain a soul. It's a simplified version of the life core. In terms of a single origin, it is far inferior to the ancestor's life core. But if there were billions of origins, the thickness of life power would far exceed those ancestors. Strip away weakness, extract strengths, grasp the essence. With the primordial as the foundation, the mind as the guide, life and death interweaved, transforming into the origin. The billions of origins themselves cannot evolve. Luo Feng doesn't need them. As a cultivator, their strength lies in penetrating the essence of power. Tao is immortal, then the Lord is undying and undying. This time, it is far more perfect than the previous 15 avatars. It should definitely advance further toward the primordial life and death Tao. Luo Feng, despite failing tens of millions of times, does not believe that he will succeed this time. But as long as he can make progress, success is getting closer and closer. Land of Origin. Brother Qianlang can break through from high-level primordial life to world-level primordial, and even comprehend the bloodline to break through. Truly remarkable. 3 figures gathered together, drinking and chatting. A man with curved horns sighed and said, "It's also luck, just happening to encounter a primordial bloodline exceptionally suited to me." Qianlang humbly said, remaining modest in front of world-level primordial beings, for he knew this was probably his limit. Comprehending world-level primordial bloodline over 70%, Brother Qianlang has a profound foundation, with prospects to achieve world-level primordial perfection. Another elder with a red nose praised. Qianlang smiled faintly. He always pursued comprehension of the bloodline over 70%, just for the hope of reaching world-level primordial perfection. Of course, this was also his limit. It was heard that those fusion Tao cultivators, before jumping out of the braided cage, even with such low mental operation speed and comprehension, comprehended multiple world-level primordial bloodlines. The potential for comprehension is far stronger than Qianlang. Those fusion Tao cultivators, when walking the bloodline path, except for the Lord Naijiu, could not become lords. Qianlang, who cultivated from high-level primordial, saw no hope of becoming a lord. Brother Qianlang is the 186th world-level primordial along the bloodline path. The man with curved horns said, "The bloodline path has also birthed Lord Naijiu. We might create miracles, and a lord will emerge." Brother Guang Yu, you have high talent, you might have a chance. I have no thoughts at all. The elder with a red nose chuckled and said, I dug deep into the bloodline potential to become a world-level primordial. As for Lord, I dare not even think. I dare not think either. Qianlang said, Brother Guang Yu, you are a fusion Dao cultivator, your talent is far superior to ours. The man with curved horns chuckled. Before jumping out of the braided cage, he comprehended 5 types of world-level primordial bloodlines. After becoming a world-level primordial, the immense life-level elevation allowed him to easily comprehend hundreds of world-level primordial bloodlines. This is quite a common standard among fusion Dao cultivators. Like Lord Naijiyu, Starlight Lord, in the weak state before jumping out of the braided cage, could comprehend hundreds of world-level primordial bloodlines, proving terrifying comprehension potential. Brother Qianlang, after becoming world-level primordial for several epochs, has Lord Yuan never summoned you? The man with curved horns asked. No. Qianlang also felt somewhat uneasy. The lords have countless avatars, long-term stationed avatars at the land of origin. The man with curved horns pondered, even if they are out fighting, it still does not affect them inviting some juniors, nor affect them handling some ordinary affairs. The emergence of new world-level primordial life is quite an important event. Why has it been delayed and not addressed? The lords naturally have their arrangements, we need not worry. The elder with a red nose smiled and said, we just need to follow the lord's arrangements. The man with curved horns was slightly taken aback, then smiled, yes, follow the lord's arrangements. Qianlang nodded. As a newly promoted world-level primordial, yet always unarranged, his heart was always suspended. Land of origin, beside the dark lake. 7 lords gathered here, waiting patiently, waiting for the turning point of this war to appear, waiting for their future companion to appear. Yuan, Jin, Wu Lan, Ming Huang, Naijiyu, Starlight, Mo Man, 7 lords simultaneously looked toward the primordial island. A breakthrough? Yuan's eyes filled with unconcealable joy. Having walked all the way from the weakest period of the cultivator camp, at that time, the entire cultivator camp was food for the innate primordial life camp. He could only shelter a small area by himself. Step by step to today, every birth of a lord made Yuan happy. Luo Feng's arrival represents another powerful existence in their cultivator camp. Wonderful. Jin laughed, the face with silver scales originally cold now displayed a radiant smile. Since being received to date, the actual time of seclusion is just over 25 epochs, yet he has already broken through. Starlight, he is much faster than you. Fast is good, fast is good. Starlight smiled and praised, he just became a lord and is still quite immature, but as a lord of primordial life and death Dao, the path he follows is destined to adept at frontal combat than me. Starlight exists across past, present, and future countless timelines, aiding the cultivator camp significantly in space-time. His assassination also poses a headache for the innate primordial life camp. But frontal combat requires a sufficiently powerful life form, sufficiently terrifying attack. He actually broke laws with force, Wulan sighed, just like the Starlight. Yes, break laws with force. Ming Huang, Naijiyu, and Mo Man were all emotionally stirred. As lords, they understand the significance of breaking laws with force. Aside from the Starlight Lord, the other 6, all first became world-level primordial life forms, and only then, leveraging their cognitive, observational, and comprehension advantages at this life level, comprehended the Tao of the primordial level. However, those who break laws with force are the weak beings under the braided cage, forcibly comprehending the supreme Tao of the primordial level. What kind of comprehension is this? Once they become a lord. After a massive leap in life level, their cognitive, observational, and comprehension abilities reach new levels, and their strength has the potential to further improve. Lords indeed grasp the essence of the highest level of power. But there still lies a difference in strength. The Starlight Lord has taken that step. The oldest cultivator, Yuan, has taken half a step forward as well. In their view, they believe that Luo Feng, who breaks laws with force, will also take that step. The land of origin itself is special, And after being refined and arranged by us 7 lords into a formation, and hidden in this time and space, everything here is completely concealed, said Lord Nigu. But once Luo Feng's avatar from his home tries to break through, it will be discovered by the outside world. Rest assured, I have locked the time-space of the quiet room in the cave mansion where Luo Feng is in retreat. At the moment Luo Feng fully breaks through, I will immediately alert him, said Starlight. Other lords nodded in agreement. Luo Feng's breakthrough must remain confidential, Yuan said, only then can we achieve a successful surprise attack. We've got to deal a hard blow to those ancestors. Make them pay a sufficient price, Jin's eyes bore a killing intent. This is the war with the greatest losses we've ever faced. Numerous world clusters have fallen, countless creatures have perished, Ming Huang's eyes flickered with golden thunder, those ancestors must suffer a heavy price. The birth of a new lord must remain confidential. If Luo Feng is exposed, those ancestors might temporarily retreat. Even if they don't, as long as they are mentally prepared and ready to withhold power to counter the ambush, the effectiveness of the ambush would be greatly diminished. First, wait for Luo Feng's full breakthrough, Yuan said. At the moment, the 7 lords are all watching the quiet room in the cave mansion atop the peak of a mountain on Primordial Island. Luo Feng absorbed the experience and lessons of his previous 15 avatars. In this attempt to create the primordial life and death Tao, Luo Feng was prepared for failure and also prepared to endure through long ages. But what astonished Luo Feng was, this time, in creating the primordial life and death Tao, when it was more than halfway complete, visions began to appear. Wisps of deep cyan power emerged around the secret pattern map. These wisps of deep cyan power circled the secret pattern map, flowing as the secret patterns did. Luo Feng could sense that these deep cyan powers were some kind of highest level power. Tao is power. Luo Feng could perceive this process. Primordial force is the most basic power existing in the infinite primordial space. But this power, drawn by the mostly formed Tao, was naturally transformed, becoming the highest level power. A Tao more than half formed already becomes the highest level of power. Luo Feng understood he was on the right path this time, and he had completed the most crucial core part by himself. Walking 90 miles, still 10 miles off. At this point, putting forth all efforts is more critical. Luo Feng continued to perfect the primordial life and death Tao, integrating secret patterns one by one into it. The vast secret pattern map bore cyan, black, and deep cyan secret patterns. In the outer regions of the secret pattern map, cyan and black secret patterns wove together. The deeper he went, the more the 2-colored secret patterns gradually merged, finally into one, turning into deep cyan secret patterns that formed the origin. As the spiritual consciousness system finally completed, the entire secret pattern map shimmered with a faint golden light. With the last step, the physical body system was completed, and the secret pattern map lit up with a faint blood light, somewhat resembling the Star Tower blood scale. Boom! A massive, perfect secret pattern map emerged. Luo Feng gazed at it. It was the culmination of his endless efforts, his comprehension of the most perfect Tao. At the moment of its achievement, Luo Feng felt his life continued through the Tao. In the past, Luo Feng needed to rely on avatars to survive. Now, though, Tao is also a part of his life. He could exist through the Tao, wherever the Tao was, he was. He could cast down avatars in vast and boundless areas, small as they were. Those avatars could absorb energy and grow. Finally, I have created the primordial life and death Tao. Luo Feng was emotionally stirred, looking at the secret pattern map glimmering with various hues before him. With a thought, the secret pattern map vanished without a trace. Tao can be tangibly manifest or completely invisible. I finally did it. Real secluded retreat time just over 2.5 billion eras, and he succeeded. The external elapsed time was less than 2,000 eras, and in such a brief time, the war situation hadn't changed much. The source world of the land of origin was still intact. Luo Feng, congratulations on taking this step, Starlight Lord's voice sounded in Luo Feng's ear. This episode is end here.